What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to dive into the story of Lucky, the oldest buck that I've ever harvested here in Pennsylvania. If you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe as it helps me expand my channel. And without further ado, let's get into the story of Lucky. So the story really begins the day that I harvested Lucky. We had no history with this deer at all, no trail camera pictures. And this was a property that we had been hunting for a couple of years at the time. And so we were pretty confident that we knew most of the deer that traveled that area. It was November 28th, 2020, the first day of rifle season. The morning of was pretty uneventful. We hadn't seen anything and ended up packing up around 10:30 and heading back to the house. So me and my brother ended up heading out that afternoon, and we were set up in the corner of this field about 100 yards away from a spot where we knew these deer tended to funnel out into this field and feed around. We sat out for probably 3 or 4 hours, and about 10 minutes before dark, I remember looking over at that spot and just seeing rack. I remember just seeing white rack come out of that area, and this deer was pretty much facing directly at us when I saw the deer. So I move my rifle around and I get situated, and this deer is looking directly at me. You know, we can't really move, so my brother decides to make a doe call, and for whatever reason, this deer did not like the call. And I just remember this deer turning slightly away from us and just taking off. You know, full speed, was pretty much just running across this field. And at that moment, I just decided to try to pull up and take a shot at this deer before it ended up running away. And everything happened so fast that, you know, we really didn't know if I hit the deer or not. So we gave the deer about 5 to 10 minutes, and we decided to get up and head out in the field where we thought I had hit this deer, and immediately there was no blood. You know, we looked for probably about 45 minutes to an hour or so, and no blood was found at all. We ended up scanning the edge of the field too, and once again, just no luck at all. So we decided to pack up and head back to the house and kind of debrief on the situation, and we pretty much concluded that I had not hit this deer at all. I remember telling my dad when I pulled the trigger that I just remember seeing deer in the scope. I remember seeing the front shoulder and pulling the trigger, and obviously we all just kind of concluded that I either shot above the deer, below the deer, or just something happened to where I missed this deer. At that point, you know, I was super frustrated. I had never shot a deer this big in my life before. And so the next morning rolls around, November 29th, 2020, one of 2 Sundays that you were allowed to hunt that year here in Pennsylvania. So we decided to get dressed like we normally do and head out into the field. And I remember getting to the edge of the field and looking up at the horizon and just seeing a spot up at the top of the field. And at first I really didn't think anything of this deer. I just kind of was like, you know, there's some sort of rock or some sort of clump of mud or something. They do some agriculture in this field. And so I just assumed that it was some sort of, you know, dirt or mud out in the edge of this field. So we decided to start walking across this field, heading toward the spot that we hunted the night before. And we got about 40 yards away from this object that I thought was mud at the time. And we got close enough to it that you could start to see that it was an outline of an animal. And we flashed our lights over, and there lay Lucky, laying in this field. And the crazy rush of emotions, you know, from seeing the deer and obviously taking the shot within, you know, 5 or 10 seconds, and just that adrenaline rush, to 15 to 20 minutes later, you know, being so let down after basically assuming that I did not hit this deer, to the next morning, obviously, you know, being at the highest of highs. You know, I shot the biggest deer of my life. It was just such a crazy experience and feeling that I had never felt before, just because, you know, you go from high to low to convincing yourself you didn't shoot it, to obviously this deer is laying in the middle of the field, was just a pretty crazy story. So we end up dragging the deer out. We end up obviously getting it cleaned up, and this all was before I had ever started filming any hunts, so there is no footage of this deer, but I thought Lucky deserved the respect and just this story to be told. Obviously, there's people that have these stories all the time, and I feel like I'm just another one of those people that, you know, prove to myself that sometimes looking that extra 100 yards or extra 125 yards after shooting at a deer might be the difference between obviously harvesting a deer and not being able to find that deer at all. So Lucky ended up getting his name obviously after just the pure luck that I had of running into this deer. If you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below how old you think Lucky is. We never got anything tested to see how old he really was, but by the way his hair is all white basically the whole way down his neck, we think that he's a pretty old deer. So definitely one of my favorite deer that I've ever harvested. But with that being said, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.